Hey everybody, it's Dr. Sam Robbins. Thank you for joining me today. I think it's Thursday. It's at noon Pacific time. If y'all can hear me, let me know. Hi. Let's see. Okay, well, I'll just start talking anyhow. Hopefully you guys can hear me and you guys are on board. I can't see anybody chatting yet, but if you can say something, here you go. Hi Tressa, thank you very much. Okay, today's topic is stress and cortisol. Thank you, Rafael. So it's an important topic because I'll let people join in. Thank you, weightlifting techniques. Hi, yeah, I'll be doing a lot more weightlifting, bodybuilding type stuff going forward. Okay, I'll get started basically today because I know we're on a tight schedule and I showed up on time. I had minor tech difficulties, but I'm here. Okay, so today's going to be about stress and stress hormones, more specifically cortisol, and all the negative effects that stress can have, and more specifically chronic stress. And I didn't really make any notes this time. I thought I'd just wing it. I didn't want to stress out over it. So some people ask, first of all, what is, cortisol and all that, and I'll get into different topics today. There's a saying that stress kills, and I wholeheartedly believe that stress exacerbates everything negative in your body. And the reason is because when stress hormones, especially more specifically chronic stress, as stress hormones go up, and what happens is it basically shuts down so many other positive hormones, because when you're under stress, your quote unquote fight or flight is up. You're in more of a survival mode, right? So when you're in survival mode, which is good, right? And we need that every now and then, especially in the old days, if you're trying to get away, to escape from a lion or whatever, and you want to live, you need that. You need that temporarily. But most of us are in quote unquote survival mode, and stress can be both physical and emotional. And it affects us in so many ways, including your lifestyle, obviously, and the foods we eat, and so on and so forth. And aging, when you get, as you start to get older, you don't deal with stress. Your body doesn't deal with stress as well. And ironically, hate to say this, women don't deal with stress as well as men, mainly because men have higher levels of testosterone, which fights off cortisol and stress. And this is why, for example, taking anabolic steroids, which is the opposite of cortisol steroid, helps block off the negative effects of cortisol, at least temporarily. Steroids are anabolic first couple of weeks, and they become mainly anti-catabolic. They're actually very good at blocking away stress. And again, that's why when you're younger, you can deal with stress better because you have better hormones and so forth, and gut biome, and your mindset is more optimistic and so on and so forth. And you haven't been, kicked between the legs as much. Life hasn't done it. I have so many examples in my life where family members who are more stressed mentally, and their mindset is always under stress, they all have some kind of disease or illness. And, I can get into that a little bit later. I have family members who have gotten divorced, and immediately they lose all their hair, right? Someone extremely close to me, I don't want to name names, they lost their hair and it became patchy on top of it, called alopecia. So it's patchy hair loss. And, it took years to start to grow back. And when it did grow back, it wasn't as dense, and it was white, ironically. So the hair that did come back, it's white. So stress definitely causes these issues. Stress, just to let you know, again, when it goes up, all the positive hormones come down. So let's talk about what is cortisol. It's one of the stress hormones. You have adrenalin and so forth. So all of you who are drinking coffee all that time, who are taking, uppers, who are taking stimulants, those of you who are on Adderall, modafinil, all these things that really ramp you up and produce more adrenaline, also produce more cortisol levels. And that cortisol shuts down, for example, the guy's testosterone. It also decreases thyroid production. So you know, obviously when testosterone goes down, you're going to lose muscle, you're going to gain fat, you're going to lose your libido and sex drive and so forth. When cortisol levels go up, your blood sugar goes up. Some people have, hey, I've got elevated blood sugar levels in the morning. Is it because my diet is good, this and that, and so on and so forth? But if you're not a good sleeper, which exacerbates stress and stress hormones, if you're constantly under stress, your cortisol levels go up and your blood sugar goes up. Okay, it releases a lot of sugar and so on and so forth. So that's a big cause. If you have blood sugar issues or even, you know, type 2 diabetes, you can improve that by simply improving your cortisol and stress levels. Cortisol, obviously, when you're under fight or flight, you don't sleep as well, and you either have a hard time falling asleep or you have a hard time staying asleep, or even if you do get good sleep, I mean, long enough sleep, let's say 8 or 9 hours, it's just not deep sleep. And again, when you're not getting sleep, all your hormones are messed up. Okay, so these are all the things cortisol affects. Also, people, you know, they high blood pressure related to higher cortisol levels. When your body, again, all the blood sugar and all these different things, your cholesterol levels tend to increase. And these are also a lot of the factors that as we get older, stress hormones go up, and your body doesn't actually deal with stress better. So even if your cortisol, blood cortisol, and saliva cortisol, being more accurate, says, oh no, my cortisol levels are fine. Your body doesn't deal with the cortisol, the receptors, and so on and so forth. So it's not always just the blood level. And also, as someone just mentioned, GABA. Cortisol also negatively affects dopamine and serotonin and GABA and so on and so forth. So again, fight or flight, and slowly, you know, it just eats away at the body. Okay, so those are just some general issues with stress. Now, what causes stress? Obviously, you know, we have physical stress, but I believe emotional stress is a bigger issue. And then physical stress tends to be more acute. Like you do a workout, right? And after the workout, your cortisol levels are going to be higher. Now, if you're working out really hard and you're working out long, and then you're doing cardio and weights and you're going to the gym all the time and so forth, then your cortisol levels, even though they're acutely high after the workout, if you're doing this all the time, you're going to have major spikes. They're going to last a long time. And then the acute higher cortisol levels become chronic cortisol levels. And those are the biggest reasons. And I'm not genetically going to gain muscle and you know, not taking steroids or anything like that, which helps. But one of the biggest issues I had when it came to gaining muscle was I was always working out too much, too hard, too long, and then doing cardio and all these things. It's the minute I stopped doing that and was focused and worked out maybe just harder and not longer and cycled my workouts, that's when I started to gain muscle because cortisol levels became lower. Blood pressure is also elevated by cortisol levels and so forth. So people, you know, also diet is another factor. When you're on, let's say, ketogenic diet, right? Or you're doing intermittent fasting and you're only eating 1 or 2 meals a day. People are like, man, I feel good, right? That's one of the benefits of cortisol. Your cortisol levels go up. You're actually very heightened. And that's there for survival mechanism, right? You're like on it, you're good, you're focused, and your adrenaline is going. So that's there for you to survive. So you can make faster decisions quicker and you're stronger. You don't want that to be elevated all the time. One of the bigger issues with such diets, keto diet or intermittent fasting, is your cortisol levels are elevated. For some people, that's okay. For other people trying to lift weights and they got a stressful life and all that stuff, it starts to eat away at you. Now, what happens? You start to lose muscle over time. What happens when someone's like, hey, I lost all this weight, I feel good, but you end up losing more and more muscle over time. You do lose fat. One of the greatest things is cortisol does burn fat initially, but yet over time, because of all the negative effects, it starts to actually produce fat. So if you take a drug called prednisone, it's basically oral cortisol, making it simple. You have more energy, you actually kind of feel good, but your face balloons up because you're retaining a lot more water, which again can lead to higher blood pressure. You also start to put fat in weird places, like on your back and on your stomach and so forth. So this is why a lot of times when you get stressed, you start to put on belly fat, and a lot of times also visceral fat. That's a fat inside your stomach. So you get that pregnant look. So that's also to keep in mind. So that's why I always tell people, like, for example, don't do long workouts. And I actually eat during my workouts some protein and carbs, liquid form, because that keeps my cortisol a little bit levels lower. One thing that actually lowers cortisol is insulin. Okay. As your blood sugar goes up, it decreases cortisol. Now, I'm not telling you to have elevated blood sugar, just telling you a little bit, healthy blood sugars. That's why keto diet isn't good. Now, by the way, underneath this video, I have links to all this stuff like this that'll help reduce your cortisol levels and so forth. This is such a huge topic. I'll be talking about more in future topics. So make sure you're subscribed and click the bell icon, because I'll get into deeper details, and especially when you type your comments below. But after the workouts, I like to keep it around 45 minutes to an hour. After the workout, I take almost 3 to 5 grams, that's 3 to 5,000 milligrams of vitamin C. I take L-glycine, and I take cortisol, stress and cortisol relief. It's a product. Again, you can take a look underneath this video. And I take 2 of those or 3 of those capsules right after my workout. And that does lower cortisol levels. I've done it with blood tests. And more importantly, I've done it with saliva tests to see. So again, 3 to 5 grams of vitamin C, L-glycine, and also stress and cortisol relief. It's a product. You just take 2 or 3 pills in that. Now, someone asked in one of the things, cortisol level is higher during the morning. That's actually one reason you wake up, which is a good thing. The problem is you want cortisol to be lower at night. Now, a lot of people, especially me included, cortisol levels are higher for me. Why? Because I'm working and my mind is going. And I get tired around 9:30 or 10, and then I like an idiot, I fight it. I'm like, oh, just a couple more emails. Let me just do this and take a quick shower. Next, it's like 11:30, and I got that second wind. Well, that second wind is actually cortisol levels going up, which then lowers your melatonin, another hormone, which then causes you to not get sleepy. So you get up. So now you're wide awake. So now you passed it. So again, at night, I take more vitamin C, I take glycine again, and I take 2 to 3 pills of stress and cortisol relief. That does help. Now, I take a bunch of other sleeping stuff like deep sleep formula and all that, but it really helps me to lower my cortisol and I get sleepy. But nothing is going to work if you keep fighting it, or if you drink caffeine late in the day. If you're going to have coffee or caffeine, have it like first thing in the morning, but don't have it late in the day, because it does keep you up. Even though you don't notice it, it prevents you from getting in a deep sleep. Yes, melatonin works, and that's in that deep sleep formula. But guys, remember, no drug is going to, melatonin is a hormone. It's basically a drug for, but it's over the counter. It's not going to do anything if your cortisol levels are high, because your body's number one goal is for you to survive. So when you're in that survival mode, nothing is going to work. So work with your body as naturally as possible. Take these substances, deep sleep formula and stress and cortisol relief and melatonin and so forth, to help naturally work with your body, but you can't force it. For women, like I said, because they don't have testosterone, they can't deal with stress as well. Unfortunately, that's why they have more side effects when they're under stress. Men can fight it off. Obviously, when we get older, it's none of us are immune to it. Then we have emotional stress. Now, this is something that I think most of us are dealing with more often, and it's chronic. By the way, when, like I said, cortisol levels go up, testosterone goes down, you're going to lose muscle and get fat. That's the opposite. But this emotional stress is something that a lot of us are dealing with, and we don't realize it. It's that negative dialogue that we have in our head, that we go to a bad place, and that sticks with us throughout the day. For example, let's just say someone ripped you off money-wise, right? Or someone lied to you or cheated on you, or your spouse or something. This is running through your head. And then someone's like, hey, how's it going? And you're like, oh man, you won't believe what happened. You relive it again. Then you're thinking about it. You relive it again. Then anytime something comes up, man, that guy ripped me off, 6 months ago, or yeah, my ex cheated on me. You again relive it. Every time you relive this negative emotion, negative thought, stress goes up, okay? Your adrenals start to get fired up. You get emotional, not in a good way, but in a bad way. And that, again, causes higher cortisol levels. And this is what becomes chronic stress. So when they say, be happy-go-lucky, forgive and forget. Or another saying is that when you have resentment, it's like you drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. So you have to be mindful of, first of all, your emotions, and then say, like, is this helping me? It's in the past. A lot of times we are focused in the past about things that we can't do anything about anymore, or we're worrying about a future event that will probably never happen. These all cause stress to go up. And now you have bad habits. Now you're constantly going to a bad place, worrying about the future, focus on the past that you have nothing to do. And this becomes natural for you. So you're constantly producing more stress hormones. So if you're one of these people, again, I've got solutions that I've taken, my family have taken, just to help out. Deep sleep formulas for sleep, stress and cortisol relief to lower stress. Also a product called Provanix that helps improve your dopamine and serotonin levels and so forth. But all these things need to be managed. You need to stop and self-actualize and say, like, man, this isn't helping me. Okay. And I'm becoming more obsessed with it and more focused. You have to focus, 90% of your time on the solution and not the problem, especially if you can't do anything about it. What's important about thinking about the past is what you've learned from it, so you don't repeat the mistake. Because let's face it, when we do repeat the mistake, it's like, shame on you when you screw me over once, but shame on me when it happens twice. I think we end up beating ourselves up negatively, and we have anger towards ourselves when we're like, yeah, why do I keep making that same mistake over and over again? What's the matter with me? Why am I dumb? Or, this and that. And now it's our fault because we're not learning and we're not taking proper actions and saying, I'm not going to let that happen again, and not blame other people and hold yourself responsible and go say, I don't believe most people are bad. I think they might do bad things, but I think just who knows why they do bad stuff, sometimes out of insecurity, but that doesn't make them a bad person. Yeah, thank you guys. Oh, I love it. I love the guys who are on here calling me losers and nerds. Again, thanks for investing 30 minutes of your time watching me. I appreciate that. Make sure you give a thumbs up when you're done. What else? The other questions I've gotten is, does weightlifting increase cortisol? Yes, it does. You know what's actually worse than weightlifting is high intensity cardio. You running for 20 to 30 minutes shoots up your cortisol levels tremendously. That endorphin high you get from running is actually a cortisol, an adrenaline high. So if, like me, I will lose muscle instantly. It's just my body is not good with that stuff. So I can't do high intensity running. I can't do all that stuff. That's why I'd much rather you did workouts for 30 to 45 minutes, like 6 days a week, than a long drawn out hard workout, an hour and a half, 3 times a week, because I think your body can only deal with so much before it goes back. And after the workout, make sure you eat, maybe go meditate, relax, maybe just take a 15-minute nap. That helps reboot your system like you do on your computer or your phone. So what else? What else? Does smoking cigarettes increase cortisol? Yes, because of the adrenaline high. Again, cigarettes are horrible for you. I mean, tobacco is way healthier than cigarettes because of all the toxins they put in there. Someone asked, hey, if cortisol levels reduce testosterone, how come both hormones, testosterone and cortisol, higher in the morning? That's just the way the body works. The cortisol is actually just higher in the morning because it wants you to wake up, which is fine. It's supposed to be high during that time. Okay, they're just working all together. The problem is when it stays high throughout the whole day, especially late at night, like I said. The other thing, people ask, does ejaculation cortisol levels? No, like actually when you ejaculate and have an orgasm, it helps reduce cortisol levels because you relax more. Doesn't mean you should go on masturbate 30 times a day, guys. How do we decrease cortisol and increase testosterone? They work together. For the guys who are working out, you want to gain muscle and improve your hormones, I tell them to take ALPHA-VIRIL for the testosterone and the stress and cortisol relief to lower the cortisol levels. And again, take ALPHA-VIRIL in the morning, and at noon, you want it higher then, and then take stress and cortisol relief after your workouts and about 30 minutes before bed. Those are the times I take it. Now, if you're under constant stress, you're dealing with a money issue right now, or relationship issues or whatever, then you might need to take stress and cortisol relief more often, maybe take some probiotics to calm things down, but that's not something you're going to be going through all the time. Now, some people say, hey, I'm a stressed out student. You know, how do I deal with that? Or I'm a stressed out mom. Or, hey, man, I'm dealing with a lot of stress. Or some people just call themselves stressed out people. Don't label yourself as a stressed out person, because once you label yourself, that's going to be your new identity. Don't just go say, I'm dealing with extra things in my life, and don't make things bigger than they are. Okay. I consider, like, look, you know, I just got audited, right? And I'm like, oh, okay. What happened? I had a bad accountant. I have a new accountant. I'm working with the government. They're super nice. They're super friendly to me. They wanted this paperwork. I gave him this and that. Some stuff didn't match up, and I paid it, and we're on, you know, onward. But I know people are like, oh no, they're freaking out over every little thing. It's not bad. I even have people being diagnosed with a disease or cancer, this and that. Immediately they go to a bad place, or they give up. Don't. There's so many solutions, but you got to be proactive. You got to, again, focus on the solution and not the problem. Blood flow, does it help? I'm not really sure what that means. So the chronic elevated cortisol is the issue. And unfortunately, if you guys are dealing with a lot of, you know, most of us are working all the time nowadays because the computer's in front of us. Also, at the time of this recording, because of COVID, a lot of us are alone. And that can be stressful, you know, being alone all the time. You feel isolated. Excuse me. So that can be a problem. Also, if you're stuck in a household full of people, you need time away to be by yourself, and that can be stressful. So spend an hour every day by yourself, excuse me, and focus on you. Do something that you like. Write down your thoughts. You know, all this thing helps release. A lot of people keep it bottled in. I've got an older brother, he keeps everything bottled in, but you can tell it affects him negatively. Also, when cortisol levels are higher, you end up wanting to eat more food, especially sugar foods, because serotonin helps and all these things. So, you know, these become a problem. So I can talk about this a lot more detail. Some of you have really interesting questions. Let me know about, you know, the stuff like this, but let me know the questions below. Underneath here, I've got, you know, underneath the description area, I've got stuff that you can, that I'm going to be doing a lot of videos and articles about people dealing with stress. And this is all of us. No one is immune to stress. And the older we get, the worse it is. And, you know, I've got a niece who's 24 and she's constantly dealing with stress because you don't know what you want to do in life. You don't know where you're going. Right now, things are, you know, confusing. That's stressful. Okay. And constantly worrying about, thinking about it becomes stress. Not taking action becomes stress. I know people are older and dealing with health problems. That's stress. Dealing with money. That's stress. I don't know too many people who are in like this awesome relationship. And the longer you're in a relationship, it becomes more stressful because you're, you know, trying to get two people to think alike and the same similar belief and value systems. It can be stressful. And when we're under stress, we end up doing things and saying things that isn't positive, and it affects negatively the people around you. So then that causes stress. So really being mindful of stress. And by the way, if you're agitated, you're short-tempered and all that, I guarantee your cortisol levels are higher. It's happened to me sometimes. It's just like I'm under heavy work and I'm not sleeping well and all this stuff, and I'm like tense, right? And again, I get back to sleeping. I take a day off from whatever I need to do. I take a couple of days maybe off from the gym. I increase my stress and cortisol relief product. I take more deep sleep. All this stuff that I take in addition to, it's a supplement, and immediately I'm calmer. I'm happier. Things don't bother me, piss me off as much. So that's being mindful. Thank you very much. Yeah, I actually, I think she's 25-year-old niece. Yeah. I remember when she was a kid, but yeah, I'm old enough, guys. Let's say 50 is a nice number. Anything else I could let me know, but I'm going to end this off. Someone asked me, am I on TRT right now? No, I'm not. I can talk about that in a future video. You know, I've managed and optimized my hormones by decreasing negative hormones. By the way, guys, if you can manipulate your estrogen and your DHT levels and your cortisol levels, these things are what I call expenses. Let's just, you know, your revenue is testosterone. And as these hormones go up, estrogen, DHT, cortisol, as these hormones go up, testosterone come down. So if you can decrease those negative hormones, testosterone will naturally come up. And that's how you can stay healthier and longer. You know, someone who takes TRT, first of all, most people are doing it completely wrong. If you want me to talk about that subject in the future, I will. I know a lot about it, but it's a lifelong commitment. Once you start, there is no stopping. And I'd rather not make that kind of commitment until I have to. And right now, luckily, I don't need to. So that's the reason. Yes, intercourse. No, actually, let me talk about this stuff. Someone asked me, does intercourse, you know, increase testosterone? Yes and no. What leads to sex, you know, getting aroused, thinking about it, right? And all that, that increases testosterone. Once you have an orgasm, testosterone drops, prolactin levels go up and so forth. But it's no big deal, guys. Don't think it's going to make any difference in the way you look and feel, all right? Someone says, hey, if I do heavy squats, am I going to increase testosterone? Yeah, and you'll increase cortisol levels too. There is no one thing that's going to do this. Like I've got my product, ALPHA-VIRIL. It increases testosterone levels, clinically shown to do all that stuff. But it's not going to all of a sudden turn you into a professional bodybuilder. It's none of that. It's just so you can look and feel and perform better. So keep that in mind. Yes, high cortisol most definitely causes erectile problems, guys. Again, decreases blood flow. Look, here's something very important that someone, thanks for reminding me. When you're under stress, your body does not want to send blood to the extremities. That means erections and all this stuff. It wants to keep it here and it wants to fight it off. It constricts blood actually in some places, okay? So it's there for you to survive. When you're under stress, your cortisol goes up, testosterone actually comes down because it wants you to survive. It wants you to go and get healthy, achieve your goal. It's not there thinking, hey, things are calm and let's go have sex and have babies. It thinks something's wrong. There's not the time. That's why a lot of times when people are relaxed, they get erect. And when you get a massage, you get that. Or people go on vacation, they're trying to have a baby and nothing works. And they say, forget it, man, let's just go on vacation. And they're relaxed. And all of a sudden she gets pregnant. She's in a better environment. He's under a better environment. The sperm and egg all of a sudden work. Or even people, so many times I've heard that maybe they can't have babies. They end up adopting. And then like a couple of years later, they end up having a baby because they reduce the stress and the pressure of, I got to have a baby, got to have a baby. So stress really affects things in so many ways and so many things we're not consciously aware of it. So keep that in mind. It affects us. The biggest thing is to stop and say, like, am I really stressed? What's stressing me out? What can I do to reduce my stress if I can handle it? You know, if I'm dealing with social media or the news, that's stressful. If I got some bad people in my life, limit them, eliminate them. That's something you can do. Stuff that you can't do anything about, let it go, man. Obsessing over things you can have no control about doesn't do anything. Thank you again for all the negative people on here. I appreciate you investing 30 minutes into me. Obviously, you love me that much. It's a love and hate situation. And yeah, someone talked about finasteride. Dutasteride is actually better. That's a whole nother topic. Subscribe, leave your comments below, click the bell icon. You know, let me know what you guys want me to talk about in the future. If you like this topic, let me know what details you want me to get into in the future about it. I got a lot of information underneath this video about stress and cortisol and how to improve things. I highly suggest you take a look at them and utilize them because stress does not magically go away, okay? It's how you manage stress and how you manage your life and how you manage your emotions and the meaning you give to situations that's going to be really stressful or, I got this. I'm going through a little bad moment. I got this. Crap happened to me in the past. I got it. I'm going to do it this time too. Believe in yourself. Don't put yourself down. Negative talk is horrible. Doesn't do you any good. It's not good for your hormones, not good for your health, not good for your performance. So keep that in mind. Thanks again for tuning in. And I will see you guys hopefully next week. Thanks. I appreciate your time and for giving me the opportunity to be a part of your life and hopefully helping you achieve some of your health, fitness, and longevity goals. Have a happy and healthy day. Thanks again.